I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call by Clerk Treasurer Parthun.
Councilwoman West.
Here.
Councilman Galloway. I see him. Councilwoman Cutler.
Present.
Councilman Frankie.
Here.
Councilman Vincent.
Oh, he's here,
on Zoom.
but they're mute.
I believe he's on.
Councilwoman
Hold
Brown.
on.
They're muted.
Councilman Vincent.
He's on there. Hey, Roger.
What's up?
How are you?
Hi, Carl. That's up to VFW for a meeting. You think you can get across town?
No, with the senior party.
Boy.
Yeah.
So what's up?
All settled here.
There's, I see Paul.
Yeah, he's there, but.
Councilman Vincent. Here. Thank you. Councilwoman Brown.
Here.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ficus.
Present.
Okay, thank you. All present.
May I have a motion for the approval of minutes?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Sit on that.
Petitions and comments of the citizens. I know I have one here. Please step forward, state your name and address. And we do have a 3-minute limit.
Good evening, my name is Alex Mayspoll. I live at 107 Grandview Avenue, Laporte. I am here to talk to you today about training and youth resource support for the LGBT community of Laporte. In the month of June, we celebrate LGBTQ Pride with all the civil rights efforts made by our communities to stand up against discrimination and demand equal rights for LGBTQ Americans. We've made great strides here in Laporte with the Human Rights Ordinance, but would like to keep it moving forward by having the city support us in our efforts of increasing visibility and youth resources by implementing more training and youth support. So a couple questions. What training programs does the city of LaPorte currently have in place for city officials in regards to human rights? Currently, the state of Indiana has no protections in place for the LGBTQ Americans from discrimination. And any protections that are in place for LGBTQ Americans is due to the efforts and advocacy of local cities such as LaPorte. The Juvenile Court System of LaPorte County, the Human Rights Campaign, as well as the South Bend LGBT Center are just a few organizations that provide training for community leaders to be better educated on the issues facing local LGBTQ community and equipping you with tools needed to help you citizens of LaPorte feel more welcome and safe in their hometown. Today, we'd like your commitment to implement annual human rights training for all city officials by the end of the year. Another goal is to create more resources for the LGBTQ youth in LaPorte all year round. The PEW Research Center and the Human Rights Campaign did a study on the average age on which gay, lesbian, and bisexual persons first encounter the idea that they are gay is between the ages of 10 and 13 years old. On June 24th, 2020, the Herald Argus printed an article on a study currently being conducted through the LaPorte County Juvenile Center that shows a disproportionately large amount of LGBT study, 13% have been identified as gay, lesbian, or bisexual, compared to the national level data, which estimates LGBT population in the range of 6 to 8%. So if the population of Laporte County is 2018 was 21,610, then we can assume that approximately 6 to 8% of those residents, or approximately 1,296 to 1,728 people in our county identify as LGBTQ. Our goal, by focusing on increased education and advocacy for the LGBTQ youth and families, was to communicate that Laporte is a safe and welcoming city for everyone, and to help us put systems in place that would prevent youth who identify as LGBTQ from experiencing bullying, homelessness, discrimination in schools, in their communities and family, and ultimately from entering the juvenile or court justice systems. This will only help to serve to make Laporte a safer, healthier place for everyone to live. We hope that by creating and distributing resource materials, I've provided some for each of you, as well as supporting creating and maintaining diversity clubs in the middle school and high school, we can help offset some of these troubling statistics in the sport. With these first steps, we can all truly be winning.
Thank you. Are there any, hold on, are there any questions?
Yes, I have one.
Councilman Galloway?
You talk LGB, like you're talking gay people, stuff like that, right? Do you know that's against the Bible? Anybody ever read the Bible?
I actually have, yes.
Yeah. That's my comment.
So, one of the things that we had as a meeting to talk about it, Jen Knoll, who's in charge of our Indiana Human Rights, has been working with the Indiana Human Rights Commission, and we're having further discussion, unfortunately, with COVID, but that's somebody I don't think was able to sit in on our meeting. She's due to have a baby anytime. But as well, we're going to be talking with Superintendent Mark Francisconi at the school system. But it'd be good to have information from the South Bend locations to connect to Jen. And would love to do that. Maybe you can combine Jen Knoll with them and work together, email, and I'll catch up with you. Okay, thank you. I believe, Larry, you were going to speak. Do you want to speak now, or would you prefer to speak? Anybody else for public comment? Yes. Okay.
Hi, my name is Carly. I'm here to get involved, listen, learn, and raise a concern in hopes that you'll hear me out. First, I'd like to say recent visual updates of Laporte are nice to see, such as the string of lights on Monroe Street. I think we can all agree that having a better looking town will make everyone, as you would put it, Laporte proud. As I mentioned, I'm here to get involved. In the past few weeks, I've been searching to see what's offered and what's needed in Laporte. And when I've looked on the city's website for programs and resources available, it's outdated and inaccurate, which led me to call the respective departments. And I'm very disappointed in the lack of transparency. I've asked questions such as, what are you doing in Laporte to make it a safe and equal opportunity environment for the Black community? Do the Laporte City police officers wear cameras? Where can I find the most updated service call reports? To which the answers should be readily accessible to any employee who works within that city department. To my last question, these reports were public on the city's website until 2016. Why has it not been updated? When I asked my questions to city employees, I was disrespected, talked down to, and yelled at. And I've yet to hear back about those service call reports. I've explained that I'm doing research for a potential organization for the community and was met with hostility. This information I'm asking for should be transparent and public, and it's not. While trying to get involved in the community and make it a better place, why am I getting the runaround, defensive, and unprofessional responses instead of answers? That being said, clean sidewalks, a string of lights, and concession stands are great for appearances. However, I'd really like to know what the Port leadership is going to do to improve professionalism and increase transparency between city departments and the people of LaPorte. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Carly, I haven't receive like a records request from you, but if you want to email me, I'll make sure that, you know, as long as your request complies with the law, I'll send it to you, okay?
Ma'am, I have a comment, Mayor, if that's okay.
Councilman
Listen,
Holloway?
I was in Vietnam. I don't care if they were purple. We fought for each other. We took care of each other. You have Black Lives Matters. How about the Hispanics, the Asians, the white people? We're all here. I still don't understand. Of course, I'm 70 years old, but let's wake up and take care of everybody in our community, our whole country. I don't understand the Black Lives Matters. I probably never will, but it's for all of us. Okay? That's my comment.
Carly,
I'll explain it to you.
I also have 2018 and
All right.
2019 year end. I don't know if it's emailable, but we should be able to get you, you're saying like the first 6 months of arrests is what you were looking for?
Call service report, so how
Yeah.
people are calling the police officers.
Correct.
Why isn't it public knowledge?
We can make sure you have that. We've got some work to do on our website, so we appreciate your comments. Yes, sir. Please state your name and address.
Oh, boy, I love this.
My name is Chris Throckmorton. I live at 1607 J Street.
Could you speak up, please?
My name is Chris Throckmorton. I live at 1607 J Street here in Laporte, Indiana. I only have a few comments. I feel your comments are best kept to yourself. This is, I don't know if you heard of separation of church and state, but this is a public council meeting. We only hear your religious views, especially
But-
in this.
Sir,
Hey.
speak to the council.
Hey, dude, listen.
Councilman Galloway,
Let him
speak,
Let him, it's not
speak.
question and answer.
That's not your choice.
All lives matter.
That's not your choice.
And I just kind of want to reiterate what they're saying, public records, transparency. I have a YouTube channel, as you're aware, where, you know, I ask for public records a lot, with love. But yeah, I mean, it's starting to echo what I've been telling you guys for years. So, I came to tell you guys tonight, basically, everything with me is done. I'm filing for dismissal for all my civil suits against the city. I want nothing to do with trying to keep track of you guys anymore. There's people popping up out of the woodwork that want to take the reins here. The ball is in your court. I will leave you guys alone. I want nothing to do with what you're doing at all. I like bike paths, kayaks, canoes, all the stuff I told you about in December. That's what I'm going to do. I'll be rededicating my YouTube channel to showing off the good stuff in the report. But as I said, if you want to waste the city's money, you're going to do it by yourself, and you can explain to them why that's happened.
Thank you.
Have a nice night. Again, good luck. And that's all. Fantastic.
Are there any other public comments? All right, we have recognition of employees' service to the city of Laporte. First, if Bill Bunton, I don't think is here. Bill Bunton retired as a city police officer after 22 years and did a fantastic job for the city of Laporte, and just want to wish him well, and thanks for his service. So hopefully he's enjoying life somewhere in the city and having fun. And next, I'm going to ask Todd Taylor to please come forward. And Todd Taylor has retired after 41 years in leadership, for the most part, as the head of water department. And it's one of those areas that nobody says anything about water until there's a problem. And Todd kept it to a minimum. And I tell you what, when you see things that happen in Flint, Michigan, we're so fortunate that we had you at the helm, Todd. And Todd's true love for Laporte has shown well beyond this. And I just wanted to thank you for your service. Amazing. And we're going to sure miss you.
Thank you.
Way to go, Todd.
It seems like just yesterday, when we had a child, not long after I started, and now I'm retiring because that child is having a child. And so, it happened fast. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Todd.
Way to
Any
go,
comments
Todd.
from the, any
Buddy.
comments from the council?
Well done. Thank you.
Thanks for all your service, Todd.
There's a great staff in place. Tom knows that already. Maybe everybody knows that. There's some really
Take a break and golf,
Enjoy,
buddy.
enjoy.
So now we're gonna move on to the local tracks project presentation. Nick Minnick is here. He's going to present from Zoom now, so that he can include his presentation, and you can all watch it here. So, Nick Minnick, welcome.
A future or city-led effort to connect Washington Street in a slightly different alignment that pushed it closer to the railroad tracks to take advantage of the proposed bridge, and then also a ramp that finishes the kind of one-way on Clear Lake, so it'd be a one-way pair going back into the Newport Landing area. So that was the original proposal. INDOT used their consultants. They selected a pool of consultants and used their consultants to create an engineer's report. That engineer's report looked at the proposed project and went further into depth. All the council members should have gotten a copy of that report on Thursday, and if there's more questions, feel free to email or call or let me know. With that engineer's report we received back late March, we wanted to make sure that we started having actual public meetings with people and everything before we brought this back out. We took a little time to review their alternatives. INDOT proposed essentially 4 alternatives. The first alternative being the do-nothing alternative, and then 3 additional alternatives. At this point, we reviewed the document from a staff perspective. We'd like the city council to see the document. INDOT would like us to be in concurrence with their decision on which proposed alternative would best meet the purpose and need of the project. And then at a later time, they also are looking for a financial commitment from the city for our portion of the match. So just as a, kind of a reminder, I'm gonna pull some things out of the report, and some of this, is also just from previous, discussions and grant applications and things like that. So the purpose and need of the project, train traffic along the Norfolk Southern line is very high and often.
Nick, could you repeat that last portion?
Shit.
At some point, NDOT will request financial commitment from the city in the 20% match, so we will have to submit that to them, not money, just, accept.
Nick, hold on one sec. We're gonna see if we can turn up the volume a little bit.
I got a question right away.
Hold on, let him finish and then we'll take questions.
Okay.
I got you.
See that? I got you. See that?
Go ahead and speak.
Okay, so, purpose and need, so the purpose and need of this project, the purpose of this project.
Purpose,
Train
man.
traffic along Norfolk Southern is very high. Often trains will stop, multiple crossings are blocked, leaving the overpass at 35 and 39 as the only crossing in Laporte, with the exception of our First Street underpass, and then on the far end of the city, just outside of the city, would be Taylor Road. So we have very options other than at-grade crossings. Next, over the last 30 years, this is speaking specifically, there have been 11 crashes at that crossing, resulting in 5 fatalities. So the purpose is to provide a better north-south connectivity through the city and providing a safer railroad crossing. So, in addition to that, we really see a lot of kind of ancillary benefits. The real purpose for this is that north-south connection that's reliable and it's very much public safety focused. But it also kind of goes beyond the standard public safety of less cars interacting with trains. It also creates an opportunity for better response times for vehicles whenever there's a situation with the current overpass or there's trains. It provides a normalized entrance off of Lincoln Way to Clear Lake Boulevard, Newport Landing, and that entire area. Currently, the Detroit Street intersection is not signalized, and this would provide an additional opportunity for better, safer access to Lincoln Way into that area that the city's worked very hard to develop.
Nick? Nick?
Yes.
Can you
Yep.
go ahead and stop there? I'm gonna have you come up to answer questions, if we could,
Okay.
because we're getting a little
problem.
pushback on the volume.
From me.
It's always you, Roger.
Accessibility shortcuts, 8 items, voice guide, off.
That's me trying to get on the computer. No. Hi, Tim. How you
And
doing?
thank you for your patience of technology education.
Boy, well, boy. All right. You shot in the beer, fireball's good.
I know.
Shit, we ain't got the money to do this.
So, let's go ahead and, are there any questions from the council as we talk? Nick, you can come right up here if you'd like.
Yes, sir, I got a question, more than one.
Councilman Galloway, one at a time, please.
How much is it gonna cost the city to put this overpass in? The second question is, do you have a reroute for Detroit Street?
Sure. So the grant is 20%, and 20% of the little over $6 million. So we're looking at, after it's all said and done, we think it'll be right around $1 million to get the project. And we don't have this overpass replaces both Detroit and Pulaski with an alternative grade separated crossing. So we're not rerouting per se because we have grid network. If we get into the proposed alternatives, alternative 3 reopens a portion of Clear Lake to two-way traffic, which provides that access back into Newport.
So you're talking about closing Detroit Street?
Yes.
Yes.
Whoa.
Well, here's the thing, let's talk about the finances first. Right now, and if you look at the report in 2039,
Man, I'll be dead by then. I mean, I'm 70, 20,
well, in
30.
2039, if you look at this traffic study, that if left without doing anything, as it is right now, that crossing will be blocked 62% of the time at Tipton. And so, any type of EMS, police will not be able to cross 62% of the time, and the only way there will be able to go over the overpass. If the city of Laporte has to address it then, without the support from Indianapolis or the state, then it's gonna cost probably close to $10 to $12 million. Instead, the state's gonna pick up the majority of this, 8.7, or, let me see, if it costs 8.7, the state's gonna pick up everything except $1 million, because we were one of the cities that were fortunate enough to receive the grant from the state. And if you look at this right now, the financial or the combination of traffic fatalities, we've had 23 crashes at those 3 locations and 9 fatalities. This way, we can eliminate 2 of the crossings and only have 1 that will be above grade or above the train, so we can basically save lives, which would be 1 a year, based on doing this.
Okay, one more question here. Now, for the trains to quit blowing their whistles through Laporte, everyone's gonna have to have, every crossing would have to have a double gate, right?
Correct. There's
Okay,
a
how
number-
much is the
yeah.
double gates?
Yeah, there's a number of things that would have to happen for Laporte to have a quiet zone. One of those would be double gating. There's a number of other preemption. There's a big list that we haven't really dove into with a consultant to figure out exactly cost and what it's going to take to get to the quiet zone.
Well, it can't be $6 million. I look at it this way, no offense to anybody, but I think the hospital's pushing this for a quiet zone, and I think everybody, I hear it from my house by the Civic, but if we put double, hey,
But this has nothing to do with the quiet zone.
No, this has nothing to do with the
yeah,
quiet
it
zone.
doesn't.
This helps get to a quiet zone, but that's not the intent and that's not the overall goal. It's kind of an extra benefit to the project, but this is a safety and an accessibility and a mobility project. It's not for a quiet zone. It will help, but that's not the purpose of the project.
And as well, you listen to all the complaints about making Clear Lake Boulevard a one-way street. This now will turn that back into two-way.
From Furnace Street back in. So one of the alternatives had, like I mentioned, a ramp going back to Linwood, which would then connect to Clear Lake Boulevard. The preferred option, which is about $1 million less, has Clear Lake Boulevard becoming two-way up to Furnace Street again. When we did the Clear Lake project and added the trail, there wasn't a way to cost-effectively have 2 lanes of traffic and the trail. With this project, we would see increased traffic on that section of Clear Lake Boulevard, and part of the funds that have been put together in this engineer's report would include widening and acquiring right-of-way in order to have 2 lanes of traffic from all the way to Furnace Street.
So which one of these state plans are you gonna look at? Last year I talked to you, you had 3 different plans. Have they decided on one?
So they
Now,
have,
don't forget now, we're talking with the state,
Yeah.
okay?
yeah, so they have proposed 4 different plans. The alternative 1 is do nothing. Alternative 2 is almost exactly as we proposed our grant. Alternative 3 is kind of what I've been describing. And then alternative 4 is the lowest cost option, but does not factor in our desire and need to maintain Washington Street as a through street. So in our opinion, that's really not a viable option.
Because the big plan when they had Newport Landing, Detroit Street was the back way into Newport Landing. Then the Burt Cook was serious, but, oh, yeah, we got, well, what happened to that? Now you're gonna cut out Detroit Street?
Yeah, and a lot of that was done before we had any potential opportunity to have an additional grade-separated crossing in the city. When the governor started rolling out the next level program, so next level trails, local tracks, community crossings was one of those, we started to see opportunities that we'd never seen before. This is an opportunity that we couldn't have really planned for because the cost to do so was just too great for the city. Now, with this grant, it opened up new opportunities that we didn't know about when we were planning Newport Landing and when we were constructing the infrastructure.
But we still have to kick out $1 million, right? Whew. Yeah, okay.
So are there any other questions?
Yeah, Nick, can I just ask you, so I read through the whole,
Councilwoman Cutler.
thank you. So I read through the whole report, and so I was kind of under the impression that alternative 3 is the one that we're hoping for. I mean, that was the impression from the report. How much leverage do we have to say that that's the one it's going to be? I mean, who makes that final?
So that's what they're asking for right now is concurrence from the mayor that we would like them to move forward with design of option 3.
Okay.
So, and for everybody's reference, option 3 is the option that has an intersection at Furnace Street. The overpass starts at State Street and ends at Furnace Street, and then would have Clear Lake Boulevard becoming 2-way from Furnace Street back into Newport Landing.
Thanks.
Other questions?
Yes, Mayor, do you have $1 million?
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't have $9 million, which this would cost us without the grant. And we have put it into our capital plan leading into the future, because this won't even take place until 2022. 2022 and 2023, it'll be completed. But I know the city won't have $9 million in 2039. So the other thing that I've committed to is we won't do any of this without speaking to the Detroit Street, and I've told Mr. Minnick this, that he and I are gonna go talk to all the businesses over there before, so they hear it direct from me, direct from Nick, about the idea that we have, and we listen to their concerns. And as you look at that, I think you'll see this is going to be a great for the future. Today, maybe, maybe not, but as you look for the future of the city and where it's going, I don't think we can afford to have 62% of the time having our crossings blocked. And if you ask, I would ask the chief of each police or fire what that would mean to you. Those are additional lives that we're talking about. And we will have this planned for our $1 million in the capital projects, but that may mean something else doesn't get done, especially based on the reduction that we're seeing due to COVID. So understand your concerns, value. Appreciate that.
And this project is in an area that is one, it's in a TIF district, it's in the urban enterprise zone, and then, you know, there's always the opportunity to look for kind of matching grants for the state grants. So I don't think we're at a point to say this is killing another project or changing the scope of another project. I think as we look through the Baker Tilly report and figure out, you know, where everything stands, we haven't, you know, determined that anything has to be cut at this point.
So if there are no other questions from the council, I would like to allow Larry Pinkerton, who was kind enough to wait for this project. So, Mr. Pinkerton.
Yes. Nick was very helpful to me. He sent me the new pictures. Thank you, Nick. And so by the time I pushed the button, I lost it all on the computer. I'll get it back.
That's me.
I'm not a computer savvy guy. When you're talking about safety, and the railroad track, you're also making a lot of dead end. Like on, Brighton Street, that'll be a dead end. Washington Street will have a cul-de-sac like.
Washington will be a thorough, it'll still go through.
They're going under the overpass?
Yes.
Okay, on this here, it doesn't show that, so I was just wondering.
Okay.
So will we ever go through Washington, right down to Brighton Street?
The proposed alternative includes Washington Street going through at
Yes,
a
no.
slightly different alignment.
It may be lifted to the north a little, but it will go through.
Oh, good, well then that won't be dead end streets there.
No.
Okay, and, I talked to the businesses at Harmon Auto, I talked to 304 Detroit Street, talked to Wayneston. I talked to Milestone Mills in Detroit. Harrison Electric, and they're not in favor of closing Detroit Street. I'm all in favor of the overpass, no problem with that. But I don't understand why we have to close. Maybe you can get away with closing Pulaski, but I don't understand, like Councilman Galloway said, closing Detroit Street. That is a direct right back into the Newport Landing area. You're gonna build that, wooden thing across the end of the lake down there?
The boardwalk.
The boardwalk.
Yes, sir.
Yep, and so, I don't understand why we still need to close. The people I talked to aren't foreclosing Detroit Street. And, I've lived here quite a few years, and since I'm 73, you see here, we're even closing Detroit Street, Pulaski Street, Tipton Street will close due to the overpass. And then we build a road off of Furnace Street to go under the overpass, that goes under it, or beside it.
After.
The overpass ends at Furnace Street.
Yeah, but you gotta,
And so people will be able to take Furnace off the overpass. Back in Middle Clear Lake Boulevard, which was one of the biggest concerns, will now become two lane.
yeah, but
And,
it's only gonna be 2 lanes from Linwood back into Newport Landing, it's still gonna be 1 way.
Think about when you
back
put
out
in
to,
But, no,
Think about when, before we put in the
Furnace will be
overpass.
2 lane.
And now the
The
godsend
one-way
overpass
currently
is.
begins at.
There was pushback.
And now it would begin at Furnace.
We gotta move forward, Roger.
So you're gonna,
That's
okay,
two-way
you're
all
gonna
the way
change
to
that?
Furnace.
Okay, I don't see that on here.
And then they'll be able to come up to Detroit for the businesses, they just won't be able to cross the tracks. So we did listen, Larry, I think Nick did listen, and Detroit, that portion is gonna stay open. And again, some of the businesses that are
Detroit's
using,
gonna stay open?
I'm sorry, Detroit will stay open to the tracks. You just can't cross the tracks, and the trucks aren't crossing the tracks currently.
Well, they were going down Hollacker until they closed Hollacker.
So now they're going Clear Lake Boulevard out up to Truesdale, which they'll be able to continue to do.
All right, is it still true that only the council can close city streets?
Correct.
Yep.
So you have to approve the closing of Pulaski and, Detroit Street.
Correct. And the goal will be to share from a safety perspective. A majority of those cars are gonna wanna go over the overpass versus crossing, a track where they, could interact with a train.
Okay. Then off of Furnace Street, you're gonna have a little 2-way street there for that 10 businesses there?
Furnace Street is two-way.
No, the road coming off of Furnace, right here,
Yeah, you're gonna make that the whole two-way from McClung down to
right here.
Furnace Street? Yeah.
Well, we got it.
You spend all that money to make it one way?
But
That's all
Like-
included in the.
like you said though,
I've got one of the
we didn't
older-
know this grant would happen.
Let's just throw money down the tubes.
There's,
Right here's what I was talking about there.
Go ahead and take this one.
Yeah, I know. Right here, you're gonna have a little 2-way for those businesses there?
Yeah, that's not what we're proposing. That's why I take this report, the one I sent out.
Okay, got the pictures you sent me here.
Larry, could we
There-
resend you the correct one, updated one? Could we send you, okay, he has the updated?
He just gave it to him, yeah.
You're gonna be voting on this.
Not anytime.
Hard to
Not
tell.
anytime soon,
Yeah.
I don't
No,
believe.
Detroit Street wouldn't need to close until probably after construction.
But I still don't know why you have to close Detroit Street, because it goes right down in the back of everything you're doing, and the volleyball courts and your wooden bridge going over there.
But again, Larry, and I appreciate your concern and your passion for this. If Furnace comes off the overpass, the majority of people will be taking the overpass, and then they can just take Furnace. They won't need to take Detroit. And then we're eliminating a crossing and hopefully saving a life. And as you can see by the data, if we close Pulaski and Detroit and get everybody going over the overgrade, as I call it, or above grade, we won't have issues like we have in the past, which is according to the federal government, a very dangerous crossing, the most dangerous crossing in the Laporte area. And not have to spend $9 million to do
Well, I
so.
don't care about it, you know, spending the $9 million, that's,
Sure.
I don't wanna spend it either, but I don't understand why you close a crossing that really is advantageous to the city. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Thanks, Nick.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have one.
Councilman,
If you go over, you're gonna make, two-way between, like, Furnace and McClung Road? After we wasted all that money making it one-way for the goose to poop on?
well, here's the thing. And
Mhm.
to be blunt, honest, ask the question. And the one way that the previous council and mayor spent on, we didn't know, or the city didn't know about these dollars that were going to be out there. So they based their decision for the one-way on Clear Lake based on the information they had. After construction began, that's when these dollars became available.
I understand that too, but just
And again, the
put a
one-way
match to
on,
the money.
the one-way on Clear Lake, everything that was constructed within the existing footprint of the road. So essentially, it took a low-volume road and made it one-way and added the trail within the existing footprint. So the section we're talking about is from Furnace Street back towards Newport Landing at this point to make it two-way again. And in order to do that, we have to expand outside the footprint of the existing roadway, which wasn't something in the scope or the plan with the original project. So it's more of an addition to that project than a complete change in the intent of creating a looped trail around Clear Lake for the benefit of walkers and pedestrians and those who travel on bikes.
Any other questions?
Well,
Do I have a motion?
I'd,
We don't need a motion.
Oh, we don't have to motion to move it to the next step? Okay, questions? Councilman?
yeah, well, I just want to add my 2 cents on this. I think adding or closing Detroit Street, and I know you may not care about noise, but I personally think it lessens the quality of life, especially, I mean, there's so many trains that come through this town, and if you're out there anywhere near there, it's impossible to hold a conversation for more than 10 minutes. Then you got to pause. I mean, I think that alone, to me, it's worth this. But
Councilman Stabos tried that, I don't know how many years ago, but they didn't want to put the money in for the arms, right? And each what do I want to say? Each railroad crossing had double arms, but they didn't want to put the money in there. I guarantee it wasn't $6 million to get all that done.
A couple
Nor will
think-
this, let's be honest.
Exactly.
This is not about noise. This will not address the noise.
but it will prevent some of it, correct?
Right.
What it'll do is it'll get us further ahead on creating a quiet zone. It's
Right.
not the intent of the project, but it's an added benefit. So currently, we don't have an estimate for what it would cost to upgrade every crossing in the city in order to get a quiet zone. We don't have to worry about what it would cost for Detroit Street, Tipton Street, and Pulaski Street, because those will no longer be a factor in our expense to create a quiet zone. So it is about a third, if not more, of our eventual cost to create that. But again, it's the ancillary benefit. So we didn't propose this project in the local tracks program as a way to get a quiet zone, but it will take us further that direction. And the other thing to kind of mention is there's no money to do at-grade crossing improvements. So there's not federal dollars, there's not money to go in and help us create a quiet zone. So this is an opportunity that we wouldn't get other dollars to move us forward in the process. So it's kind of it's an added benefit that could be very significant in the future. But again, that's not the focus of what we're doing here. We're trying to create very safe, reliable north-south corridor. Park Street to Tipton Street to Rose Street to Monroe Street is very important for our community. And we're not talking about rerouting a truck route. We're not talking about trucks or anything like that. We're not talking about the overpass that exists on US 35. We're talking about a local overpass for local vehicles, people that want to get to their jobs in Thomas Rose Industrial Park or live out of the county and want to come in and do commerce in the city. This is a key north-south route that's going to be more reliable and safer for everyone in the city. This is not some way to get more trucks somewhere or do anything like that. This is about Laporte citizens getting places safely and knowing that they can reliably get there.
Yeah, I'm not against the overpass, but when I was on the council, it was brought up, we never got a vote on it. They said something about it in a meeting. Next thing we know, we got a $6 million grant. It was never brought up before the council. Just boom, yeah, hey, we got it. What is that?
But Roger, we're being informed now, and that's the
Yeah,
thing. I
now,
mean, change,
but-
for anybody, change is difficult. I know that. I mean, when we put in the overpass on 39, or 35, I'm sure there was a lot of pushback on that, but it's an amazing thing, and we're not gonna be closing roads just to be closing roads. There's gonna be an alternative. And it'll just be different for a little while, but it's gonna be better.
And I'm not sure if it's
In the
an
long run.
alternative versus an upgrade.
Upgrade, okay.
I think this is an upgrade for everybody to cross. I mean, think about it, where else do you cross without running into a train?
Well, that, I would have been early today to the council meeting, and
Like
that
I said,
happened to me tonight.
I'm not against it.
Agreed.
Just the way it was brought up before, boom, here it is. What is that?
And none of us were here, so we
Yeah,
appreciate that.
Yeah, there
And I
was a
think, I
few
think
of us
Nick is
here.
doing a really good job keeping us informed. I don't think anything, we're not being blindsided by anything, in his defense.
Hold on, I'm gonna ask the public to wait. Is there any other council? Okay,
Wasn't, Holacher
could you please stand? Sorry.
was not Holacher closed without a council vote?
I can't speak to the previous administration and so forth. What I can tell you is this council will vote on it, and the public will have their voice heard.
Right,
Moving forward, I can assure you that.
that's all we
Might
can
be
worry
the
about.
only one voting against.
Okay, are there other questions? Hearing none, we will move, Councilwoman Cutler, introduction of a resolution approving use of enterprise zone investment.
Your Honor, I move to introduce a resolution read for the first and only time in its entirety.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Councilwoman Cutler.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. A resolution approving use of enterprise zone investment deduction credits within a tax increment financing district. Whereas Dahani Realty LLC, herein Dahani Realty, has requested of the Common Council of the City of Laporte approval to use the enterprise zone real property investment deduction credits within a tax increment district, specifically the Central Business District Allocation Area Number 2. And whereas Dahani Realty's capital investment of $3 million for a new 18,500 square foot multi-tenant facility, retail facility, and whereas the city planner for the City of Laporte has provided an analysis showing that use of the investment deduction credits would not adversely affect any TIF obligation in the TIF district. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Laporte as follows. 1, that Dahani Realty requests to use enterprise zone investment deduction credits within the Central Business District Allocation Area Number 2. And number 2, said credits shall be for a period of 10 years. Number 3, Dahani Realty agrees to a fee of 35% of its investment deduction credit savings paid to the Laporte Urban Enterprise Zone each year for a period of 10 years to maintain eligibility in the program. And 4, Tahani Realty agrees to use local contractors to perform construction work on this project wherever feasible. End of resolution.
Question.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the resolution is presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. We can approve on one reading. Questions? Councilman Galloway.
Yeah, no.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Galloway, before you go, could I have Bert Cook kind of explain what
No.
this may answer this may answer
Go
some of your
ahead.
questions. Bert Cook.
Thank you, Mayor. Bert Cook, Executive Director of the Laporte Economic Advancement Partnership. The resolution that sits in front of you today is the second phase of a project that you will remember from March when we expanded the boundaries of the enterprise zone to encompass this property, which is owned by the Patel Development Group. Kush Patel is on the line with me today. I'm gonna walk you through this quickly, but he's here if there's any questions I can't answer. In the resolution, there's a explanation of the project. We're building an 18,500 square foot multi-tenant retail facility. They have a couple tenants in hand, letter of intent from a restaurant operating out of the Milwaukee area that intends to be an end cap for them, as well as a local establishment that will occupy space as well. The council has to approve the ability to use the investment deduction through the UEA because this property falls within an allocation area or a TIP district. As you can see, the city planner, Tom Casey, has done his analysis and provided that there's no negative effects of that. And in fact, the city ends up making or bringing in more in terms of funds by utilizing this incentive because Tahani Realty will pay a 35% fee on their savings to the urban enterprise zone at the end of every year. So many of you, we've done numerous of these over the years, so I think you're familiar with this. I'm happy to answer any of the questions you might have. And Kush is here as well in case you have questions that I can't answer.
Questions? Councilman Galloway.
I talked to Bert earlier. I just want to know, does this have any effect on, I guess, what, Area 2, as far as what they can do in the future? Does it bind them up? Does it tie up too much money or whatever?
Bert Cook, do you mind responding?
Bertie?
Mayor, could you, I only heard a part of the question. Would you mind saying it a little louder?
You just repeat it to him. He's not going to be able to hear.
Okay, so I guess the question is, does this do anything to TIF 2?
Does it have any effect on
Does it
Area 2?
tie anything up for the future?
Okay, yeah, I got the question. So Laporte is an extremely conservative community. We take debt on within our allocation areas greater than the increment we currently have to pay that debt. So we have that debt service covered. That gives us a lot of advantages as we move forward because you can do something like a project like this and approve this credit, and it does not have any implication, any negative implication upon the ability to handle that debt service. And as this project rolls off, because the term for this is 10 years, as it rolls off, then the property taxes that are paid here will become part of the general budget for TIF 2 for that allocation. So the answer to your question, Councilman Gall, is no, it does not have any negative effect and it will not bind them up.
Thanks, Bert.
And Mr. Cook, could you also mention what was there before and how this is going to transform Pine Lake there?
Right, we're very pleased with the development there. There were some homes there that were, kind of built when the community was a much different place, and so that is quite obviously a commercial corridor for us. We see that as continuing and knocking those homes down and cleaning those up and providing for new commercial space. That's very much in line with the development surrounding it. Is a great thing from a planning standpoint, and I think it's good for the port moving forward.
Which could also include a potential restaurant, correct?
Yes.
Correct, they do have a letter of intent from a restaurant to be an end cap, that I think will be a really exciting development. It will allow them to make those announcements as they get closer to construction, but it is something that we're excited about.
You know what?
And also do the three-way that the council passed?
The riverfront liquor license would be in play here. This property is within that area, and I believe they intend to utilize that tool as well when we get to that appropriate place.
Other questions? Hearing none. I do have a motion and a second. All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm sorry.
I didn't say anything.
Okay, so if I apologize. Did I hear a nay? Okay, all in favor, 7-0, it passes. This resolution passes. Councilwoman West, introduction of a resolution authorizing the sale of real estate.
Your Honor, I move to introduce a resolution read for the first and only time in its entirety. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of
Oh,
LaPorte.
do I have a motion?
Second.
I got a second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes, go ahead, Councilwoman West.
Whereas the City of LaPorte desires to sell real estate it owns located on 105 Boyd Boulevard, LaPorte, Indiana, parcel ID 46-07-330-358-001.000-53. The real estate pursuant to Indiana Code Section 36-1-11-4. Whereas Indiana Code Section 36-1-3-11-3 requires the Common Council of the City of LaPorte, in addition to the Board of Public Works, to approve the sale of real estate since it has an appraised value of at least $50,000. And whereas the city held a public offering for the real estate and identified the bidding requirements, and whereas the Board of Public Works for the city opened the bids at the June 16, 2020 meeting, and whereas the city received a bid from M Details LLC to purchase the real estate for $375,000, which bid met the bidding requirements, exceeded the value of the two appraisals on the real estate, and which compiled in all other respects with Indiana Code Section 36-1-11-4. Now therefore pursuant to Indiana Code Section 36-1-11-3, the Common Council of the City of LaPorte hereby authorizes the city to sell the real estate at 105 Boyd Boulevard, LaPorte, Indiana, parcel ID 46-07-330-358-001.000-053 to M Details LLC for $375,000, subject to the bid being accepted and awarded by the Board of Public Works. This authorization expires 1 year after the adoption date. Here ends the end of resolution.
Do I have a motion to pass?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion, and before we have discussion, or from the council, Bert Cook, if you don't mind sharing your information on this as well.
Thank you, Mayor. So we're talking about 105 Boyd Boulevard, the current home of the fire station, but will soon be vacated as the fire department moves into their new fire station. So we put out a bid for a request for proposals for groups that would be interested in acquiring the property. If you've been out there, you'll notice that it's a very small property and it's very limited on its options. So the type of use that fits there is a quick service restaurant. That was part of the bid. We were very pleased that we got a response, and that response was at $375,000, which was above the average. Ultimately, we're recommending that the city move forward with this deal. We're typically, the Board of Public Works and the council work together on this, and so the Board of Public Works has already seen this. They will be seeing the bid again tomorrow. In this instance, we're asking that the council approve the sale of this property pending approval by the Board of Public Works. And we're doing that because the way the timing shook out with this, we would lose 2 weeks of time. We're having to wait until your next council meeting. And as I'm sure you can all agree, we're excited to see them get under construction and start as soon as possible. So that would save us some time in that regard. And I think the construction of the current fire station, which is the next step, is on schedule for the end of this month, so we should be able to see this move forward here later this summer. So would hope that the council will be supportive and will approve the sale of the property pending the approval of the Board of Public Works tomorrow. I think Nick Otis may have some other additions there as well, Mayor.
Just real quick.
Or Attorney Otis?
Yep, on the appraisals, Bert broke up there a little bit. Actually, the offer that they made was the amount of the highest appraisal. We just have to take the average of the two appraisals is what we can accept, and they offered the highest of the two appraisals, so this is a really good result. Bert mentioned on the prior resolution, you know, that the tax credit that you'd be giving is for an improvement in an area of town that's changed significantly over the years. I know Andy Snyder has told a story that when he started as a firefighter here, they used to hit golf balls where Walmart is now at that fire station. So that side of town has drastically changed. It's hard to get in and out of there. I think Chief Snyder would say where they're going to be is much easier for them to get to cover that area of town. And if you haven't driven by the new fire station, it's a really good addition to that area of town. So,
Council discussion or questions?
Yeah, what are you gonna do with the money?
what fund does this go into?
It's going into the rainy day fund. Oh, in the general fund.
And then we'll ask the council to move it to the rainy day fund.
Good.
We have to build up our rainy day fund after meeting with Baker and Tilly, especially, you know, you've all had the opportunity to experience a pandemic, and we have to prepare for the future and build that rainy day fund.
The other thing tomorrow at the Board of Works meeting, we'll be asking the Board of Works to authorize getting quotes for demolition of the current fire station. Chief Snyder, when is the new fire station? First of all, so we're moving right along here, so this is perfect timing, so.
So then our demolition comes out of what money we're getting.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm not sure how Chief Snyder will ever be allowed to have the outside color of a fire station again, the blue and the gray. So you may have been moved your duties there. So, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And by the way, I did receive a message. Please understand you're live on Facebook. Careful with your language. We heard some language, so
Oh,
Please.
not from me, I'm sure.
be careful.
Yeah, wake up.
So,
Here we go.
Councilman Galloway, introduction of a resolution authorizing the investment of public funds.
Your Honor, I'd like to introduce a resolution.
Second.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Or in a second?
Thank you, Tim. I wouldn't have to read it.
Councilman Galloway.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of Laporte authorizing the investment of public funds pursuant to IC 5-13-9-5. Whereas the City of Laporte, the city, desires pursuant to IC 5-13-9-5 to allow banks outside the political subdivision to submit quotes on public funds, certificates of deposit. Now therefore pursuant to IC 5-13-9-5, the Common Council of the City of LaPorte hereby authorizes the investing officers of the city to invest in certificates of deposit of depositories that have not been designed by the local Board of Finance but have been designated by the State Board of Finance as a depository for the state deposits under IC 5-13-9.5. This authorization expires 1 year after the adoption date.
Do I have a motion?
That's every year.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
That was just to read it.
Discussion?
Hey, Courtney or Joni?
Sure. So this resolution is something that comes before the council every year. It will, upon approval, it will allow us to invest in the Hoosier Fund, which is outside of our political subdivision, but this resolution, again, allows us to do that. So the Hoosier Fund is where all of our investments are. We've been investing in the Hoosier Fund for over the last 8 years. This allows us to continue to do that.
But I say it's very good.
Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
John,
Whoop.
I'm gonna abstain from this one, just
So
for
we-
the record to show.
Councilwoman Brown will abstain, so motion passes 6-0. Other business. So a couple things that I'd like to talk about. We do have a free COVID test going on at the Civic that the state is putting on from 8 to 8, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., Monday through Friday. We're encouraging as many people as possible to get out, minorities, other race. It's very important because they're at a higher risk for COVID. So we're trying to get the word out, not only to help our community, but also if the state doesn't see a lot of testing going on, they will move it out of Laporte. So I would highly recommend, and we're going to continue to push the word. It is free. We still have a couple details that I think you can check the Healthcare Foundation of Laporte on, but we're encouraging everybody. We're seeing numbers starting to run up in Porter, Stark, and Laporte, and I think people are struggling wearing masks related to COVID, and you know, we've got to really hold tight. We'd hate to knock the economy down here while we're getting back up and running. So that, also the governor, we're supporting his resolution to mask up and to make sure you're wearing your mask whenever possible. And it's hard, and I've not been perfect either, but we do need to do that. And then as well, you have the executive order that states, you know, our kind of blend was, I think the clerk treasurer has done a fantastic job of providing options for payment without people having to come into the door. The last thing people want to do are leave work early or leave home versus being able to pay online, drop payments off. So we will continue to keep City Hall closed till August. Well, I think with the governor, August 3rd, or was it 4th? I think to match up with the state, but we'll continue to have open meetings barring any COVID increases.
Mayor
August
Dermody?
4th.
Mayor Dermody, can I ask a question on that? So are other committees allowed to start having meetings here, like the bid? Can the bid
Correct.
board meet next Monday?
Absolutely.
Okay, do they need to be in touch with Annette in terms of having someone at the door with, okay.
And the other part of that is we'll still leave the blend. If someone doesn't feel comfortable coming in, then we'll have the Zoom. And we are getting better at it, believe it or not. We're getting closer to this, but we'll have that.
Laura, this applies to any public meeting we have at City Hall. So yeah, just connect with Annette on that. This will run through the first, it would run for first council and Board of Works meeting of August as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
were you having, where you have to wear a mask when you go in the store, everybody? Did we discuss that?
Well, we're going to talk about that.
Oh, okay.
We'll have conversation. And
Okay.
so with that, also, Ms. Dunn brought up a point about public records request, and since people can't get in City Hall to receive or request public records request, right now there's a process
Well, there's a link
online.
online.
So I want to make sure Ms. Dunn and others know, so they go to,
cityoflaporte.com. There's a link, if you put in the search function, if you put public records request, the form will pop up, and then on the form will give you directions as to, it's a fillable form, and you'll email it to our city attorney or Corinne Fitzgerald. All the directions should be right there on the form. I don't know.
FOI.
Freedom of Information.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
under the Indiana Access to Public Records Act. I'll end up getting it, but if you just email me like I gave you my card, I'll get that too.
And one, if I could, just one moment, Larry. And one of the things that we're working on as kind of the nation is facing, and we're facing not only on a social aspect, but also a financial aspect. You know, we love our fire, we love our police. We're talking about fire, how we can generate revenue and provide better services to our community. But also, and I know Councilwoman West is working on this and myself, we have to decide what kind of police department we are gonna be in the future. And when Ms. Dunn brought up about, hey, the call report, I would highly recommend everybody looking at how many calls in 2018, 2019, the year-end results. You talk about if there's something to be done in the city, the trend is, let's throw it on the police. Let's have the police do it. And to be honest with you, I want the drug traffickers gone in Laporte. We're not gonna allow it. But as well, they are chasing loose dogs. They are providing Narcan when EMS, the fire department are. They're not skilled at Narcan. They try, but we have to look at our service of officers getting into the neighborhoods, starting to work with people of color and keeping everybody safe. We're looking to hire people of color. We've been looking since last November and interacting, but they cannot be required, in my opinion. And when you look at crimes of structure, that all someone's doing is going out, viewing something, and then driving back to the station to file a report, there has to be a better way to do that. They need to focus on the most important areas, and we have to think about what we want the police department in the future. We're gonna lose, or we'll lose more officers, and we have to be bold. I think we have a very good force with very good leadership, but we're gonna have to start pulling some things off of our department and allow them to get in the neighborhood and focus on what the community wants them to focus on, which are the real crimes, the drug traffickers, the abuse. And we need to start partnering with those mental health groups, which we're starting to have some conversation with. You know, if someone has a mental health issue or a drug issue, the last person they want to see is an officer with a gun. You know, we need to look at these mental health professionals and start having them go on calls. So this is a big discussion that we have to have with the community, but I think you're going to see, you know, what we want police to be in the future. And again, it can't be just running. And when you look at 10 officers down right now, and you start looking at the call structure since 2018, how do they even keep their head above water? So any other points of that, or any other discussion points that you'd like to have?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Sorry, before I adjourn, I did say Larry could say a few words.
In news dispatched on July 2nd,
Oh, wow.
it said from Governor Halton, it said no mask mandate for Indiana. While not mandating wearing masks, Indiana officials are strongly recommending it so that we don't have to reverse course.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Councilman Frankie.
Councilwoman Cutler would
I
like to say
was
something.
trying to get a word in edgewise. I
Councilwoman
really
Cutler.
wanted to make a public announcement about a great positive grant coming from Laporte Urban Enterprise Association. Can I make it real quick?
Absolutely, take your time.
Okay. There was a press release that went out, and you can also find information on What's New Laporte and on the website. But residents that live within the zone, the Neighborhood Improvement Program was adopted through the Urban Enterprise Association. The two goals of the program are to assist homeowners with repair projects to their residents and elimination of blighted conditions within the enterprise zone. The Urban Enterprise Zone and Association will cover 90% of the cost for the homeowner, paying only 10% of the cost, with a total amount of work not to exceed $10,000. So we've allocated $50,000 to this program. If a resident lives in the zone, they have a tree that's been problematic, they need it taken down, they can't afford it, they only have to have 10%, and we pay the other 90. If they need new paint, if they need, there's all kinds of great you can look at the website. You can also click on What's New Laporte to the link. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that. I know there are residents in at least 3 of our wards that are in the Urban Enterprise Association zone. Okay, thanks. That's all I wanted to share.
Any other discussion?
Great.
Hearing none, I do have a motion to adjourn. All in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? We are adjourned. Everybody have a great night.
Hey, Nick.